To Cameroon, where they're also voting in a presidential election. Africa's oldest leader, President Paul Biya, is seeking a 7th term in office after 36 years in power. Opposition groups spent days trying and failing to form an alliance to defeat Biya. Only 2 of the leading opponents managed to form an electoral union. Now, the election in Cameroon has been overshadowed by a crisis in the English-speaking region of the country. 6.5 million people are expected to vote, but few of them are from Cameroon's English-speaking region. Northwest and Southwest regions, secessionist rebels there have vowed to stop the polls from taking place, and the government says it's killed 3 fighters who were trying to do just that. Now, this is a story that we've been covering closely since the separatist movement started to gain momentum 2 years ago here on Al Jazeera. A teachers' strike in December 2016 kicked it all off, as Catherine Soy reported from Bamenda, the capital of the Northwest region.
This is how you'll find many classrooms in English-speaking regions of the country. Students who are about to write their national exam are worried that they won't be able to finish their curriculum, but they also say that sending French teachers to their schools only makes their studies harder.
Cameroon was colonized by the French and British at the same time. Both are official languages. There are 2 national school curriculums, and in English-speaking regions, separate legal systems. But French has always dominated, and the roughly 5 million Cameroonians who speak English say their language and culture has been stifled for decades.
Now, that frustration grew from strikes into street protests, leading to a violent government crackdown last year. Thousands of Cameroonians fled to neighboring Nigeria, and Al Jazeera's Ahmed Idris met some of them on the Nigeria-Cameroon border in January.
Belta Eno and her 6 children joined other refugees to move to a new settlement away from the Nigeria-Cameroon border. This is the family's 3rd relocation since they fled the fighting in southern Cameroon.
Many parents in this new refugee settlement hope that their children can soon go back to school. Most have missed classes since they fled their homes last year. There is no school here, so they will have to rely on nearby schools and the generosity of the local community.
And now it's all come to a head with the election this Sunday. Earlier this week, Hiba Morgan spoke to a government official about the crisis.
The fighting in the western region, which started in 2017, has killed hundreds and displaced 250,000 people. The English-speaking fighters, who have called themselves Ambazonians, say the elections won't be held in their regions. But the government disagrees.
Election will take place all over the nation, and security is guaranteed to all citizens of this nation.
Now, as we've said, this is a story that we've covered extensively here on the News Grid. And Leah, a lot of Cameroonians reaching out to us on social media.
Oh, yeah, we've had thousands of messages, and that continues throughout the year, but it's incredibly impactful today. What's noticeable, though, like you said, Folly, are the large sections of the country that are not voting today.
The 7th of October, Bamenda.
In many towns in the Anglophone parts of Cameroon, the streets are empty. There are reports armed separatists have warned people to stay indoors or risk getting shot. Many of those not voting call themselves Ambazonians. They say Ambazonia is their country, not Cameroon, and they say they won't vote for a government that isn't theirs. Many Anglophones want more representation in the French government, a 2-state solution, or a new country altogether. Now, on Twitter, I created a poll asking those in Cameroon how they plan to vote. The majority of my followers said that they're not going to vote, but because they're Ambazonian, not Cameroonian. The divide between the 2 sides is really that strong. Here, some of them explain.
The polling stations are all filled with military people. How can we vote when our family and friends are living in refugee camps in Nigeria, in the bushes? People are being killed daily. We cannot vote because they think the election is more important than the life of the people who are supposed to vote.
Today I am not going out to vote because I am an Ambazonian. This is a La République organized elections.
Some from Anglophone Cameroon don't want a new country, but a union between the 2 sides. Ben Aki is one of them.
We think that President Paul Biya will be re-elected, but we call for his resignation. He has been a total disaster for our country. and at the age of 85, he cannot govern this country of more than 20 million people. We are totally opposed to violent reaction following the election results, but we are going to work strategically with other Cameroonians to bring about the peaceful resignation of Mr. Paul Biya.
Our correspondent Hiba Morgan is inside Cameroon covering more of the election.
I'm here in the capital Yaoundé covering the elections, and one thing I have noticed is the international observers, or actually lack thereof. There are no observers from the EU, there are no observers from the UN, and EU has deployed observers, but they've deployed around 20 for the whole of Cameroon, which is divided into 10 regions. So that's basically about 2 observers for every region. And the reason why the EU and the UN have not participated, according to the EU at least, is because there's unrest in the southwest and the northwest regions, and that they would find it very hard to access a lot of the polling stations. So they're not going to come here and just rubber stamp these elections to give whoever wins, and most likely it's President Biya who's going to win. They don't just want to rubber stamp his win and give it a vote of legitimacy. So many parts of the country right now, the polls have opened quite late. Some of them are not accessible to many civilians. Let's not forget that the Anglophone crisis has displaced about 200,000 people, many of them who are here in the capital Yaoundé, some of them in Douala, many of them also in the bush with no access to polling stations or voting stations. So it's very hard to see how this election will be considered legitimate by the international community, considering the fact that they didn't have all the observers around, and there were many people who were not able to access polling stations.
Hiba Morgan, you can follow her on Twitter at Hiba_Morgan. Now, if you're in Cameroon, let us know how you're voting, if you're voting at all. The poll on my page is open for you. My profile is at Leah Harding AJE, and as always, our hashtag is there for you, hashtag AJ Newsgrid. Leah.